Hello everyone. I'm hoping that all my clients past and present and anybody else that follows the It's Just a Feeling website is as well as can be with everything that's going on in the world right now. Welcome to my December blog. I was thinking about this quite a lot because sometimes I have really good blog ideas and then I'm kind of like, hang on a minute, how would I explain that without somebody being aware of the whole picture or of being sort of on a journey with me. But one thing that keeps coming up an awful lot, I think, is recovery and what to expect from recovery. And it's something that, if I'm really honest, I've found really hard to tangibly put into a few paragraphs or a blog or anything, because there's something around getting what recovery means, and sometimes that's further into the process of suffering anxiety and kind of working towards remission. And I know that sounds like gobbledygook, and it sounded like gobbledygook to me too, but there's a little bit more to it than just to be able to tangibly go, right, okay, this is what recovery means. But what I wanted to cover today was a little bit about my thoughts on recovery, and also something that I think is really important to note and be aware of within recovery. So I might come back to this blog and or maybe even make a new one with more points on recovery, but I'll cover a little bit of what I think today. Now, what we're working with when we work with anything to do with emotional issue or emotional disturbance is we're working with two aspects of who we are. We're working with our conscious side, so things that we're consciously aware of, and we're working with the rumblings underneath of the subconscious. And the subconscious contains all our core feelings, our perception of life, our experiences, our values, our beliefs. And all this will come into how we see anxiety, how we work with ourselves, and how we see recovery. So basically, some of my job is bringing, I guess when I work with people, is bringing any subconscious patterns into conscious awareness, as part of the process of working towards recovery. And this is quite important, because if you are aware of what something is, then you can work with it. And often the problem with anxiety is that when it first happens, we have no concept of anything to do with subconscious. All we do is consciously feel a really difficult feeling and become scared of that. This is a problem. I need to get rid of it. So we become absolutely focused and fixated on not feeling the feeling, because it feels too horrible, and avoiding anywhere where we feel we might feel the feeling, and fixing it. And in concentrating on fixing it, we're concentrating on it. So a lot of the time it hangs around and it stays. So I could talk about this for hours and hours and hours, but in reality, it's not as simple as going, right, I need to see somebody tomorrow and they're going to tell me exactly what I need to do to recover from anxiety. Or I have read everything there is to know about anxiety and I understand it all, so why am I not recovering? And both of which will never give you an instant recovery. It's not going to work like that. So I will go into that, I think, a little bit more in future blogs, because as I say, I could talk about this for hours. It's not something I can tangibly put into a sentence. But the way I see recovery is not about removing anxiety. Now, huge intake of breath I can hear from literally everybody going, oh my God, does that mean I'm going to be stuck with anxiety forever? No, it doesn't. But you are not going to be able to erase past experiences, things that have happened to you. It's going to be very difficult to work with values that you've been given and you assume are how things are, how you've looked at the world. You can't just take a great big eraser and rub it all out and go, right, okay, I'm all right now. nor can you have an unrealistic view of being ecstatically happy 24/7, because that doesn't work either. So I think when we talk about recovery and the impatience to recover, what we're really saying is, I don't want to feel this feeling anymore, and I need it gone now because it's just too horrible, and I can't cope with it. So I need to search everywhere and get rid of this. And in my experience, that's not the way. A realistic expectation of recovery is that the anxiety is not removed. It's not removed at all. But what you do is make more sense of who you are and what things mean for you, as well as more sense of that feeling and why it's there. And when that happens, this is my own experience, and I do see it quite a bit, I think, when working with people, is that the anxiety, a lot of the fear is removed from understanding it more. So you're able to stand back more and not fear it quite as much. And when you don't fear it quite as much, your focus removes from it and it becomes much more insignificant. Also, by working with that feeling and learning to go towards the feeling rather than away from it, learning that it's not harmful, you will teach yourself to become more resilient to that feeling and more able to feel difficult feelings and to understand that you'll be okay. And that's really key. Now, one of the things I really wanted to highlight in recovery, and remember, I was talking at the beginning about subconscious and consciousness and the awareness that has. So consciously, I am now talking into this blog and you are watching. Subconsciously, while that's happening, we're breathing. And that's just happening. It's something that happens. So I'm going to give you a scenario. Okay, so I go into the supermarket and I have a really big panic attack. It's the first panic attack I've ever had. I don't know where it's come from. I'm kind of, oh my God, this awful thing happened to me in the supermarket, and I got really scared and I ran away. And what happens in the body, as you know, is that the body will have a learned reaction. So I see anxiety as a learned reaction to an emotion. I would never label somebody as having a condition or having a problem or they're not okay. For me, it's a learned reaction to an emotion. And if it can be learned, it can be unlearned, and you can be okay. So yes, absolutely, you can be okay. However bad you think you are, however much you believe that you're the one that's worse than anybody else and the one that is untreatable, I'm sorry, but I don't get that, and I won't believe it, because that's not something that I have experienced in my work and in my own life. You can recover from anxiety. You can get a good quality of life, but it's not about taking it away. So going back to the supermarket, what I've started to do is train my body, because my body's going, oh my God, we're going into that place where I have this awful feeling. So I will naturally work with my natural instinct to protect myself. And what I'll do is I'll try and avoid the supermarket altogether, because I will almost go, the supermarket gives me a panic attack. And more on that again in another blog. But if I was working towards recovery, I would begin to understand that I can't avoid the feeling in order to recover, because it's almost like going, right, okay, when this goes away, or if I don't work with it at all, hopefully somehow I'll recover. But you need to learn that you have the resilience to cope with that feeling, and the only way to do that is to experiment with that feeling. That's a given. So if there's a fearful situation, that's the green traffic light to go ahead, because that's where you're going to be able to work with the feeling, because that's where you're going to feel it, not the red light to retreat and avoid. So what will happen is I start to go, right, okay, do you know what, I'm going to go back into that situation, is I will end up with that feeling. I will that feeling is going to come. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and work with that. So how my experience is that this goes when you very first started to work with it. Okay, so I go into the supermarket, I'm apprehensive, I've anticipated this moment for a long time, because my fear monitor's going, goodness me, are you going to be sorry when you go in there? You know what happens when you go into supermarkets. I'm going to give you the worst panic attack that you've ever experienced because I'm going to get you out of there. I'm going to save your life. So I know all this and I'm going, oh my God, do you know what? I really don't want to go in there because I don't know what's going to happen to me. I don't know if I can cope with this feeling. This is going to be awful. And a very typical first experience of going towards fear might be to build the courage to go in, to spend a few minutes in there feeling the most anxiety you've ever felt, because of course we've anticipated this fear. The body, the physical body, is reacting because we've already told it that the supermarket is really, really scary and dangerous, so it's trying to save us. And so we endure a few minutes and then we come out and we go, oh God, that was awful. Do you know what? It's all hopeless. It's not going to work. I'm not going to be okay. I went in there and I was really brave, and actually it was just hell. You know, it's just hopeless. I just felt anxious the whole time I was in there. So do you know what? It's all hopeless. What's the point? And I would go home and I would be really, really despondent. And this is the really important point I want to make. Anxiety is calmed and understood through the subconscious. So we're consciously aware of that process because we're embarking on that process, and we're consciously aware of entering the supermarket. So there's some conscious awareness, but what we're really trying to change is the unconscious patterns, and we're trying to understand the feeling and what's going on. So when you work with the habitual behaviours of avoidance and you go into that supermarket and you feel really anxious and you come out, I would argue when you say it felt absolutely awful, I was totally anxious the whole time and it's all hopeless. Because consciously, logically, you've gone towards the feeling of fear that you've been avoiding and the body's reacted accordingly. So that is actually supposed to happen. That's really important. And that might seem for a time like there's no change. When you start to go into places or you start to think the thoughts that you're trying to avoid, or however anxiety manifests in you, it is going to be really, really normal on a conscious level to feel like you're getting nowhere and that the feelings or the urges or the thoughts are overwhelming. But actually, what a lot of people with anxiety miss, and this is a really important point, is that even though things on a conscious level do not feel like they're changing, on a subconscious level, there will be movement. So I think, just in my experience as an anxiety sufferer in the past, an acute anxiety sufferer in the past, and experience of working with clients, myself, I think this is missed, and it's really, really important because it's almost like we cancel out progress because we think that nothing's working, and so we retreat again. And it's definitely something that I did at the start of my anxiety. I was so frustrated. Oh my God, I've gone into that place. I've finally done it, and it just felt absolutely awful. I'm never, ever going to get rid of this feeling. It's just the worst thing ever. But I missed that by me going towards that feeling, I was facilitating change on a subconscious level, and it might be some time before I can see that consciously. So it's just something for you to think about, and just one of the sort of really important points that I would make about working towards a better quality of life. And when I say that we don't remove anxiety, what I don't want anybody to do is go, oh my God, I'm going to have to live with this feeling forever. It never goes away. Because as you can see me now, I'm okay. And anxiety to me and my fear monster is very, very small. And I've got a really good quality of life. But what I've not needed to do is erase big parts of who I am and my life experiences, because I've not got the control to do that. So what I can do is work with myself and work with the habit and work to understand what goes on inside me and what that means to me. And once I do, I can go, I know what that is. Whereas what I'd have done before is gone, oh my God, a difficult feeling, my anxiety's back. And I would have fallen into that habitual cycle. Whereas now I go, hang on a minute, I understand where that feeling is. That's not necessarily my anxiety. That's normal for me, or that means this. And therefore, when I can look at that, I don't have the same fear. I don't have the same fear of the anxiety because I don't see it in the same way. And that's a really important stage, I think, in recovery. And I think missed by so many people who think that I need to take this away. I need to, spend a fortune on internet treatments. I need to talk to anyone who'll help me. I need to get generalized strategies that apply to anyone and hope that that will take away my anxiety. And I don't agree with that. Nor do I agree with, and I'm being very bold and outspoken here, with just concentrating on removing the problem and the feeling of anxiety. Because, by doing things like, right, okay, you've got anxiety, expand your comfort zone, take deep breaths while you're in a situation. All that is doing is reinforcing the fact that somebody's got a problem and reinforcing that the anxiety, habitual behaviours are a problem. Whereas actually, if we work with a wider picture, that almost diminishes to some degree. That there's a shift in that anyway. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say today. I hope it's not all gobbledygook, because I don't follow a script on any of these blogs. I just kind of, talk freely. So if anybody has any questions, you're more than welcome to pop a comment under the video itself. I will be back shortly with another talking blog post. And if anybody needs to contact me for any reason, then my email information is under the information on my YouTube channel. Please take care, everyone. I will try and sit down and deliver another blog post before Christmas, but if I don't, I know this is going to be a very strange and alternative Christmas, and I know Christmas can be a really difficult time if you're feeling anxious. So I genuinely wish everybody all the very best and all the health and happiness for 2021. Take care now.